could be better. Even if you have someone who you know is better and could only elevate Aaron Rodgers' play, which is what Brett Favre did when he came back to Green Bay. And I'm sick to death of hearing about the soap opera that happened. These players are paid to play football. The soap opera had absolutely nothing to do with this team. It didn't bring them down. They didn't worry about it. They went out and they practiced and they played. These are two quarterbacks that they were familiar with. They could have functioned perfectly well with either one, and Ted Thompson and Mike McCarthy ousted Brett Favre. I know how it was spun, but I also know how it actually went. They ousted Brett Favre in favor of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is who they want. That's who they're married to. And the only evidence you need to prove that is the fact that they guaranteed his starting spot. And Mike McCarthy specifically said that to the media and to the public. So there's no argument against it. And they shouldn't have done it. You should have never done that because it goes against Ted Thompson's self-stated philosophy, competition in training camp, and B, it just cannot work in the NFL. Another point, and I'm going to end on this, okay? And this one, because I believe that pretty much everyone can agree with me, and I'm not, and there are a lot of people who have said Justin Harrell was a bad draft pick from the beginning. First rounder, he picks a defensive guy, interior lineman. We didn't really need, we could have hung on to Corey Williams. This was supposed to be a guy for the future once he got healthy. He has done absolutely nothing for our ball club, except maybe be a mediocre guy to spell Pickett or Colin Cole, and just a waste of a first-round draft pick. But I want to go back to what I said early on. When training camp came around, I said I'm worried about the defensive line because we had some injuries. But for the not just because of the injuries and the guys that had to go in and play extra snaps, but because with Justin Harrell off the field, he was forcing our starters into taking reps that they shouldn't have had to take, where they should have had a little more rest in the preseason and in training camp. And he was taking away snaps. He was forcing them into snaps, and forcing them to take snaps he should have been taking. And I predicted that that would wear on our defense, the interior line, and I believe that's the case right now, that Justin Harrell is costing us, and in little insidious ways that other people didn't even talk about. But our interior defensive line has more mileage on it than it should have ever had, coming out of training camp and going through the preseason, because Justin Harrell has been sitting on his butt, standing on the sidelines, and he is more and more proving the critics right that he is just lazy and he's hurt again. All he does is get hurt. I am sick to death of thinking about the guys that we could have gotten in Justin Harrell's place. It's time for Justin Harrell to get his butt in the game and stay there and prove Ted Thompson right, or see you later. We don't need you. You are a draft bust, and you are a huge waste of a pick, and you are another one that falls on Ted Thompson's shoulders because it was a stupid, stupid thing to do. Now, I say that because I want to give deference to Ted Thompson in this regard, because he's a better judge of talent than I am. I think he knew he was making a risky pick, but when you're Ted Thompson and you get rid of Corey Williams in the offseason for a second-round draft pick, I would much rather take Corey Williams than anybody we could have picked from the entire draft last season. Any one of them. Anybody. So we have a problem on our hands, but I don't want to end, I've been negative, I don't want to end this podcast in a negative manner, so I am going to say this. The Packers are still in it. The Packers still have a mathematical chance. They're only 2 games out of first place. This is a sucky division, and so we have a chance to go to the playoffs. I think a lot of us out there, even though we want the Packers to go to the playoffs, I want them to win every game. I agree with those who say that. I want them to win every game. I do at times, though, almost wish we would not be in the playoffs, just because I know we're going to embarrass ourselves so badly. And we have not done that. We didn't do it last year. It was a bad ending last season, but we took those guys to overtime. I know, and I believe the the stories that came out of New York, Brett Favre was extremely ill during that game. I think that explains all of his countenance issues, the way he looked, his seeming difficulty to play in that cold weather game. It wasn't the cold weather, folks. I believe he was terribly ill in that game. I have heard it, that it was all over the New York reports, and I believe it. And so I think our team would be much, much better, not just 2 games better, but if we had a quarterback that could win the game when we needed to win a game that we didn't deserve to win. And we would have a leader that we needed and a coach on the field. But we don't have that. But what we do have is a guy who is serviceable, solid, when there is not pressure on him. Aaron Rodgers throws well in a vacuum. Aaron Rodgers is a good passer in a vacuum. And I'm hoping he will develop into a good passer when the pressure's on. I'm hoping he won't score 4 points for the defense by running backwards and pitching the ball underhanded. And so I think that will be the case. I think he will develop. He is not showing it during this season, but our offensive line is extremely suspect. So it depends on whether Ted Thompson is willing to step back a little bit, make some common sense decisions, go after some free agents, and get these things corrected. And if he does, we may even make the playoffs this season, and I think we'll be one and done. I don't think we match up well with anyone out there. I think anyone else that comes into play will be a better team than we are right now. But we could make the playoffs. And hey, if Mike McCarthy steps up to the plate and Aaron Rodgers steps up to the plate, we have the kind of team that can beat some people. So that anything is possible. This is the NFL. Don't give up on the season because anything can happen in the NFL. And plus, for the future, if Ted Thompson will listen to my advice and balance his philosophy a little bit, come down to the real world. See, this happens all the time. When a guy steps into a new role, he has to assert himself to prove that he's in charge. Ted Thompson has done that. This is his team now. Now he can go ahead and back off and say, hey, listen, I've decided to go out and get some free agents. I've decided to go out and get some things done that we need done for this team. And I hope he does so, because this team needs it to happen, and we will not be winners for the future if he does not. So that's it for today. I think I believe our team has a lot of upside, and I think we can see very good things in the future. A lot's going to hinge on what we do in this off season, but for now we're hoping for some good things to end this December run and get a lot of wins. We pretty much need every game to be a win. With the Texans coming in, they may have their starting quarterback back, but we have a good chance to win that game. And then I believe the Jacksonville Jaguars, who the Texans defeated on Monday night. So some of our worst teams coming up. We've got Detroit at the end of the season. We do have another game with Chicago. These are winnable games, and let's hope they win them all. So until next time, enjoy this Packer team. Even though it's been difficult this past few weeks, I think this week is going to be an up week for us. And as always, as we say here on the Atrium, go Pack.